Tonight on the show, we have Tom Brady.
You know, I can't believe we started at esports and now we're doing professional football.
Danke. MKX Tom Brady. You're watching Best of 3.
Awesome. Intense.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of Best of 3, your weekly FGC talk show presented by The Daily Dot. I'm your host, Efren Salinas. With me, as always, is my co-host, Michael Danke Schiller. Radical Ray Chun is standing over there, getting ready to give us some weather reports. Is it chilly? What's up with the hat?
I mean, gotta support my Broncos. Tom Brady's here. Competition, man.
Well, he's not on until later. Also, joining us tonight, as they always do, from Event Hubs, John Velociraptor Guerrero. John, hello. Hey, we can see you this time.
Yeah.
And also, Daily Dot writer, AceKingOffSuit, also known as Steve Jurek. Hey, Steve.
What up, everybody?
Hey, man. Now you're getting a little potato quality on us, but hopefully that'll
Really?
get a little bit better as the show goes on. All right. So we're going to go over a couple of things that happened last week. Then we're going to talk about some of the stuff going on next week. Then we're going to bring on Tom Brady. And then we're going to have some weatherman breakdowns from Ray. So let's get started. The first thing to talk about was some of the results from the tournaments over the weekend. The ones that we were watching were the KO Gaming Lounge premiere event, Winterfest, which was a CEO event, and, of course, one that I was pretty excited about, and you've been telling me some cool stuff about, and we'll get into it here in a second, the Cooperation Cup, which was the Third Strike tournament. Ray, could you give us some of those results?
All right, so starting with the KO Gaming Lounge premiere event, we had former Daily Dot guests Chris Tatarian and Brent Is Cool take first and second, respectively, with Ian Sanity taking third. Ultimate War vs. Capcom 3, Jeopardy took that one. Guilty Gear, Kizzy K, and MKX EGP OIve 87 DTA. Next up in Winterfest, Killer Instinct, we got Gnarly Feats taking first place. Ultimate vs. Capcom 3, Bass, VII 7. Guilty Gear, DC Mystic, MKX Big D EVB. And Ultra Street Fighter 4, NuckleDu takes it over K-Brad.
Spoilers. And stay tuned because later on in the day, we're going to be going over this very match. You mentioned Bass, Ultra Arcade player. Ultra Arcade has been sponsoring a lot of players. Later on the show, Tom Brady, guess who he's sponsored by? Ultra Arcade. No, not the Bats, Ultra Arcade. Guys, did you, and of course, I'm sorry, who won the, see if you can pronounce any of these names, who won Cooperation Cup?
Well, Cooperation Cup was won by KO Family, which is a team consisting of no Chun-Lis, interestingly enough. But just run through the names real quick. Yakun, Kenzo, RX, Hirai, and Kashi.
Cool. All right, guys, did you guys watch any of these tournaments?
I definitely had my eye on Cooperation Cup. A lot of people, I know Valle and various others were posting odd shot clips from Twitch on it.
I think I got some of those. You actually sent me the Hugo one and the Ibuki one. Let's watch this Ibuki one real quick. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, this shows off some pretty crazy stuff. You missed a beginning of the combo there, but basically stunning in Third Strike allows for some additional juggle properties. There, he actually does it on a standing character. And basically, he can link on Urian specifically because of how tall he is. A combo after that EX shore, you can and then do a full combo after the stun. So,
do you want to talk
a lot
about
of
that
damage there.
You want to talk about that Hugo clip you were showing me too?
Yeah, sure, why not? This was the clip that I saw everywhere. Basically, after being down most of the round, I think we've got pretty much the whole match playing here. Hayao makes some pretty slick reads. Hugo can buffer his 720 out of a lot of situations in this game. Including after a jump, after a jab, a lot of situations. And he can actually walk a little bit before activating this. So what you're going to see here in this clip is it used to punish the recovery of a jump in. Right now, yeah, you're just watching him get beat up on, but the impressive part is that it was done as a comeback mostly.
Yeah, it's about to happen. Here it is. And got it.
Yes. And so during the jump, he probably buffered the first part of the 720. He doesn't do it immediately upon landing. He does the first circle during the jump and the second circle after landing and gets the 720 to punish the recovery.
Now, of course, in my limited knowledge, with T-Hawk, you can do the 270, hold back, see what happens, and then have like a split second to hit the button. And basically, you can do that in Third Strike as well?
In Third Strike, you can do it as well. In Third Strike, it's actually possible to standing 720 just from the ground.
It's
incredibly hard. And you have a little more buffer time in Third Strike than you do in SF4 for that kind of trick. So it's a little more common, I would say.
Gentlemen, what were you watching this weekend out of those tournaments? Did you see any of that? And what were your thoughts? We'll go with you, John.
Well, I wasn't able to catch the finals for most of those, but as far as the KO Gaming Lounge, that's a really exciting thing because it's like brand new in SoCal, and the fact that they're teaming up with Level Up, like I used to be back out there, and I really want to go there and participate in KO kind of stuff because it really looks like that's kind of like the future of these like regular smaller tournaments and such. And as far as the people that want it, it makes total sense that someone like Chris, Brent, and Ian would dominate in that because Chris always like, you know, SoCal, you think Snake Eyes is like the main guy right now, but he's the one that's always given Snake the most trouble. And then it's really cool to see him out and playing again and such. And then Brent has been leveling up like crazy over the last year or two. And then Ian, even more recently than Brent, has also been upping his game. And so it's really cool to see players like that cracking the top 3 and doing so well in tournaments like this.
Hey, John, tell me a little bit more about Ian. I'm not embarrassed to admit that I don't know as much about him. We've had Chris and Brent on the show together, in fact. They were interviewed at the same time. But I don't know as much about Ian, or Ian Sanity as he goes by. What can you tell me about him?
Well, so here's the thing, a little backstory. I started going to Wednesday night fights maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not sure the exact time. Ian was always at Super Arcade, but he had a job that made him leave like right before the tournament started. So he always showed so much promise, but never actually got to play in the tournament. Then maybe a year and a half ago or so, he changed jobs and such, or his schedule changed so that he could start playing. He started coming to the tournaments and doing fairly well, but not amazing. But the promise was absolutely there. And slowly but surely, he started taking out killers and started, you know, cracking top 8 all the time. And so, like I say, he was one of the guys we were really looking at to grow up and to really, you know, start doing things in SoCal. And to do things in the SoCal scene, that's impressive, you know, because those guys are crazy out there. So he normally plays Chun-Li, but he's also been screwing around with Poison, and I'm not sure who he used at KO Gaming, but he's a solid player no matter who he's using, and you can see that in a player. You know, in the first time that you watch them play, you can see if they're just using a character's gimmicks or if they understand the game. And Ian's the kind of player that definitely understands the game. So kudos to him.
John, does your shirt say Clever Girl?
I got this for my birthday back in early December from my friend that lives in Florida. He knows that my name is Velociraptor in the community. So yeah, he sent me it's actually got where the L is a
the
claw.
talon. The talon.
Yeah, the talon. I'm sorry.
There you go. Come on.
I should know my own appendages and such. Yeah.
Before I get to you, Steve, I want to remind everybody that this is a call-in show today, and the things that we're going to be talking about, of course, these tournaments. We're going to talk about Mortal Kombat, the new Season 2 pack that just was announced, or that was revealed with actual gameplay. We're going to be talking about the fact that EVO is going to be announcing all their tournament lineup, and we're going to be talking about Kumite in Tennessee and all their exhibition matches that Panda's putting on. So if any of those topics interest you, call in. We'll get to hear you live on the air. We'll answer and discuss whatever you bring up. And then, of course, call-in will remain available during the Tom Brady interview, and we'd love to have you guys call in and ask him a couple questions. Basically, why is Sub-Zero so top tier? Okay. Steve, did you watch any of those tournaments? Cooperation Cup, Winterfest, or KO Gaming Lounge?
I got bodied by time zones this weekend, so I wasn't able to catch much of Cooperation Cup. What I did catch was a little bit of Winterfest. Grand Finals was a great set. I don't want to give too much away because I know you guys are going to be talking about it, but K-Brad has really, really shown that he is not like some wash-up scrub. He came to play. He gave, you know, at least in the first part of that set, he gave NuckleDu everything he could handle. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to do once Street Fighter V drops, because I think he's going to do pretty well, a lot better than he did in the latter stages of Street Fighter 4.
I mean, he lost.
He did lose, but you know what? You lose to NuckleDu, there's not much shame in that.
I suppose you're right. No, that's totally a fair point. How do you feel about that?
About whether you lose to someone and are still legit or what?
No, what Steven is saying about K-Brad still being... Obviously, K-Brad is the shit. He can beat all of us probably on the days. Maybe not Raptor or Ray, but the majority of us. Is there... God, there's still a lot of passion in this game. I wish that K-Brad could potentially have had more of a heyday, I guess, than when he first came on the scene. You've talked about when games start to kind of fade and how it kind of sucks. How do you feel about the fact that these guys are still putting in a ton of work and potentially still leveling up?
I mean, it makes sense to a degree. I think a lot of it will transfer to 5. If they wanted to stay with 4, I mean, I guess they will, but I know K-Brad will move on to 5 if it's what's popular. I mean, there's definitely no denying that a lot of his success was in Street Fighter 4 AE 2012, when Cammy was considered a stronger character than she is now. But towards the latter half of Ultra, I think he's shown a lot more that he can adapt to his character's nerfs. And hopefully, I mean, I think Cammy's really good in 5 right now, so if he sticks with her, he should be golden.
Yeah, everybody has an opinion on 5, and the game's not out yet, and Kamofina said that it's going to change before.
Oh, it's definitely going to change, so who knows? Yeah, I mean, and as people have said, learning a character is not too hard, so hopefully people will branch out a little more. Although some people like their, solo main guys. But
OmniSlash is asking, Winterfest, the fuck is that? Winterfest was a CEO tournament, a one-day tournament put on by Jabali just this past weekend. Okay. Ray, unless you have something you want to mention, let's move on to the next topic. You good?
Oh, we're good.
We're good. All right. The next topic is the new Mortal Kombat characters. They'd already been announced. Some people were happy or not happy. Regardless, they're out. And there was a gameplay trailer today. And we're going to play it here in the background. General thoughts, gentlemen. I know, Raptor, when you guys put stuff up like that on Event Hubs, you get a ton in the comment sections. What are people saying?
So I was surprised to see that this was a little earlier on, but no one was happy about Leatherface. Everyone was super excited about Triborg, which I think is a really good idea, and it perfectly puts all 3 characters that people love into the game, and they only had to take up 1 character slot for it. I think that was a really smart move by NetherRealm, and apparently so does everybody else. Everyone's really excited. As far as Event Hub's readers go, people have been most excited about Triborg. And then the second one, it would definitely be Alien Xenomorph, but I think they call him Alien in the game. Mm-hmm. And I think that was brilliant too. From the way they showed him making it, they teased Baraka in the teaser trailer, and they have him burst out of his chest. And they gave Alien Baraka's, swords.
He's got those sword hands. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I thought that was super cool because if you don't know about the Alien movies, they take on whatever characteristics of whatever chest they bust out of. In the teaser trailers you mentioned, he busted out of Baraka's chest.
I was pretty pissed Baraka's not in the game, honestly.
Dude, you got Alien Baraka, man.
Not the same, dude.
But you were saying, John?
But it's close enough. Well, and as far as Baraka goes, when he first came out in Mortal Kombat 2, really quick, he was great. As a little kid, however old I was like, oh, that guy's so awesome. He's got sword hands. It's intimidating and whatever. But it feels like in the Mortal Kombat universe, and it might just be because of the way the movies and the shows and stuff played out, Baraka became one of the henchmen because there were so many basically Baraka copies and stuff, and he seemed to lose a lot of his pizzazz.
Oh yeah, dude, he's a pawn. In Mortal Kombat chess.
Yeah. He's
he literally is the pawn.
That's some old school Mortal Kombat game there, man. The one that had the chess on it. I'm sorry, John.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So it's really cool that they're still referencing him. I mean, they obviously had him in the Mortal Kombat story, but then they're at least paying homage to him, putting him into the character of Alien, and I think that was also a very smart move by NetherRealm to do that. And then finally, there's Boraicho. Or Bo Raicho, I guess. Whatever. And he's fun, he's funny, and people really appreciated him. He's like Mortal Kombat's fart joke, and there's always room for a fart joke or two.
Literally, you said it right as he was farting on the guy's face.
I timed it. I've been watching the movie in the background. But I personally, I'm excited to see all of them. And I think Leatherface, considering what they've done with the guest characters like Jason and Freddy and things like that, he totally fits the universe. And he's weird and grotesque, and he's killing people with chainsaws. It's completely Mortal Kombat. I mean, we'll see how he actually plays and what kind of a character he is as far as the gameplay goes. But as far as his persona, I'm welcome to the Mortal Kombat atmosphere. We have a table for you right here. You are perfect. So I'm happy to see pretty much all of these characters.
Borracho, the drunken master, do you know how you say drunk in Spanish? Borracho. So that's a little bit of trivia there for you guys. That's where I think they got the name. But Borracho's pretty cool. I think he's cool. I think the Xenomorph is pretty badass. Alien's pretty badass. Of course, when we have Tom Brady on, we're going to ask his opinion on all of these characters, and I suspect he'll have a little bit more in-depth to say. But, Steve, how do you feel about... I'm sorry, Danke.
Well, no, let Steve talk.
Steve, what do you think about these new characters?
Sure, make me go after this answer here. I really haven't been able to get into much MK because I made the mistake of buying it for PC.
Dude...
You got
that blow up was so bad.
It was not a good decision on my part. You know, I like that they were able to get Alien, you know, if for nothing else, to get the Alien versus Predator thing going on. I just can't get over how much Triborg sounds like a bad fanfic character name. I'm sorry.
What would you have named him, man? Size Smoke, something like that?
Anything.
No, I think Triborg's tight. What Triborg interests me is like the way the variation system has been used. So there's like a couple different ways it can be. It can be all three variations are totally different. And what this does is it allows people who like the character to potentially have more of a chance to like how they play. Mm-hmm. So if you're like, oh, I really love Alien, but like the way this plays is garbage, like I hate it, like you can try a different one. Mm-hmm. Or all the variations can be very similar. And what this does is it lets you play one character and, you know, switch tools for the matchup or switch tools to fight the player. So I think these two design styles are both used in MKX to an extent. Triborg obviously being like the far extent of every character is totally different. Mm-hmm. Whereas maybe someone like, well, Devore is not a good example. I don't know. Some of the characters are a little more similar between their variations. So it's pretty cool how they've branched out and used them differently.
Has it been fully announced that these three characters, the three Borgs, are the three variations?
I don't think so, but
I mean, it would make sense.
It's very safe to assume.
Yeah. Okay. Gentlemen, again, we're going to retouch this topic here when we get to Tom, but I just wanted to make sure we got everybody's opinions in there. Moving on. We mentioned that we were going to be talking about the EVO lineup. Ray, what can you tell us about this? There was a tweet about it, and it's right behind me.
Right. Well, January 26th, Mr. Wizard himself is going to announce EVO location, the event, all the games, maybe. Get some hype cannons ready, and we'll see what is unleashed.
Hype cannons. Y'all got your hype cannons ready? It's important to have a hype cannon. I don't have a hype cannon. What does that look like?
It looks like the Cannon brothers getting ready to shoot up a lot of games that we don't know about, maybe. I don't know.
What would be an upset? What would you be like, why would they put that game on there? Because there's a bunch of new games coming, like if they put Pokken Tournament on there or something.
You know, I don't think we're going to see that. But
what game will you be pissed if it's not there? I'll do it that way.
I mean, the answer is always BlazBlue, but it's not going to be there, so I don't care. You know,
what about like a Marvel?
If Marvel wasn't there, I think the blow-up would be funny enough to justify it for me. but it will definitely be there.
Okay.
You know.
Gentlemen, what game do you absolutely want to see? Steve, I'll start with you. Who will be upset if this game is not on that lineup?
I would be surprised if... Well, personally, I would be disappointed if Skullgirls didn't make it. I know that's not going to happen. I know it's never going to happen. But honestly, I think what's most intriguing about this is that outside of Street Fighter V, there are so many questions about almost every game in the lineup. Ultra, you know, it had 2,200 people last year. Do they really want to run SF4 and SF5? Melee and Smash Wii U. Do you really want to run two Smashes? Do you say no to either one? Or do you say yes and then have those four games take up all the space, all the time, and leave almost table scraps for everything else? I have no idea how they're going to go. And the Cannons and Wizard have never been ones to go smaller. They're going to go bigger. They did tweet out that Evo 16 was going to be go big or go home. So I have no idea what they're going to do or how they're going to pull it off this year.
There's no question that developer support could potentially be integral to getting some of these games in there. I mean, we got to the point where the anime games have gotten big, you know, developer support the last couple of years, and they got viewers because of that. We had Street Fighter 4 had a big pop bonus. Marvel notably didn't. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see if any game is kind of propelled up there, or even, a surprise game gets in as a result of developer backing. I mean, it's kind of strange because games like DOA has had, Team Ninja has sponsored pots in tiny tournaments in Texas that I've been to that I'd never even seen anyone else go to. So I'm just, it's weird how those get, spread around and who will actually fly out to take them.
I would imagine it's as simple as that. Somebody called and said, "Hey, can we get a hand?" And they said, "Yeah, sure." Now, you mentioned Skullgirls, Steve, and we're going to get to you, John, to hear what you want to say about what games. But Steve, you mentioned Skullgirls. You have guys like Sonic Fox, who have been growing that scene again, but just by sheer fact that he's playing it, you never know what game could be there. I don't think Skullgirls will be on the Evil lineup, but you never know what game could grow that population.
We almost had My Little Pony fighting his magic.
Yeah, but we didn't.
We did not.
Guys, before we get to you, John, we actually have a call. This is JB, and we're going to get him on the line. JB, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. What's up?
Hey, what's going on, man? Thank you for watching the show, and thank you for calling in. What do you got?
I have a couple questions. See if you guys want to answer them. Take whatever you guys can get. Have a few little ones here. So I had a thought. What do you guys feel about these HD remixes or HD re-releases? You know, maybe the tournament scenes could use a couple HD re-releases, maybe some SNK versus Capcom 2 HD release, maybe Bushido Blade.
So you're saying
that.
Games that don't already have HD remixes, you want to see brought back as HD repackages?
I wouldn't mind competing in them, just saying.
And are you talking about with balance changes or just, graphically updated to work on a new console?
No, you can't change the old stuff, man. I think people would get up and nervous with it. So I would take a just graphics overhaul any day.
Yeah, well, in regards to that, I think they've been pretty good for the scene. We've had a few so far. As you said, Street Fighter 2 HD Remix did have actual gameplay balances, which ended up pretty much being removed from play of the game. People, after Snake Eyes won Evo at Zangief, people said, no, that's too much, and just stopped playing the HD Remix version. But yeah, I mean, Darkstalkers had one, Third Strike had one, Street Fighter 2 had one.
Right.
A lot of games are definitely overdue, and Marvel vs. 2. I think it's a good thing overall if the game can be accessed by more people. A lot of those games have somewhat of a lively community on Fightcade or GGPO, but a lot of people don't have computers to run that and don't like to access it that way.
I think it would be cool to have an all HD remix type game tournament.
I think if they were to package them together in some sort of way, it would get people to play a lot more of them. I remember I bought the Marvel Origins remake, which had Marvel 1 and Marvel Superheroes. Mm-hmm. Some of the smaller, early Marvel games that I probably wouldn't have bought by themselves, but they were included in the package. So, I figured, hey, why not? And I totally agree with you that whatever we can get, I'd love to have. So, yeah, I think they're a good thing.
JB, you also had a comment here. It says about winners of the Capcom Cup and Evivo.
Yeah, I actually have an idea that I actually proposed for last year's Capcom Cup. I don't know, just an out there idea. I think of these things while I'm out there in the night playing.
We all get those good ideas at that hour.
Yeah. So basically, I have a thought. The winner of these major events, either Capcom 2016 or maybe the winner of Evo 2016, in the case of Street Fighter 5, maybe the winner afterwards can go onto the Capcom team, go onto the Capcom office, and basically have their input or their say on the next DLC character coming out the following year. But I'm only talking specifically towards the winner of
not just anybody.
Major event.
I mean, that could go well or that could go horribly wrong. I mean, just because you were good at a fighting game doesn't mean that you're like you can design a character. But it could be cool to have input or to have a character made out of you.
It's definitely interesting what they've done with players and input on the games themselves. Obviously, we have Woshige and Combo Fiend working on Street Fighter 5, and we've had a lot of I remember there was a Third Strike developer that was banned from playing in tournaments, obviously as a result of working on the game, but he was amazing when they actually got into play. So these good players have plenty of input, and I think that any opportunity for fan input from top player input is typically a good thing. Mm-hmm. As to whether we can give them, executive privileges to design a character, I guess it depends.
Right.
JB, thank you so much for your call, man. We're going to go ahead and take it from there.
Thank you, guys.
All right, later, man. Okay, going back to the conversation that we had almost finished there, John, what game will upset you if it's not present at EVO?
Yeah. I think that it's a given that it's going to be there, but me being a Street Fighter 4 kind of guy, I would be upset if Street Fighter 4 wasn't there. Having said that, though, I'm thinking about these tournaments, especially early on, and EVO might be a little farther down the road, but I wouldn't bet on it, that where you're going to have Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5. And I feel like the ratio between the players that play in both, or I'm sorry, the people that are going to play in both of those tournaments, there's going to be a lot of overflow there. And when that happens, if you've got thousands of people, like on the EVO scale, playing both 4 and 5, that's going to pose something of a problem potentially for the tournament organizers. If you've got, a couple thousand people waiting to play both games, but they can't play because, Street Fighter 4 is running or Street Fighter 5 is running, I don't know, that's something that you kind of got to dance around a little bit.
You said Jabali mentioned that, right, Efren?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think there's going to be a lot of shakeups because it's not like, Street Fighter's back, it's 2009, and now we can have tournaments and stack a bunch of other games at it because people are going to be there regardless. It's all these games are getting big, all these games are getting exposure, all these games have this Twitch presence. But, gentlemen, since I don't want to keep Mr. Tom Brady waiting too much longer, and there is one big topic left that I want to get to with all you guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut the EVO talk short. We'll be keeping our ears open for January 2016 when that gets announced. Over under on it being on Capcom Pro Talk with Mike Ross? Steve, you think that'll happen?
80%.
Okay, guys, this weekend coming up is Kumite in Tennessee. I've never been, but last year's was hype as hell. We're going to be on Panda's stream. We're going to be doing the morning show and the halftime show again on Sunday. We're very excited about that. But speaking of Panda, he's going to be doing his Ultimate Fight Night exhibition matches, and we're going to go down the list, and I want you guys to give me your opinion on who's going to win. One of those matches is Tom Brady versus Sonic Fox, which, of course, we'll be talking to Tom Brady about. And one of those matches we are going to be revealing tonight here on the show. So let's get started first with Cloud versus Ray Ray. I'll let you go ahead and start since it's Marvel. It's a 1st to 10 between Cloud and Ray Ray.
I don't know the history between these two. Obviously, two of them are absolute top players. Cloud came on the scene and has gotten top 8, top 16 in pretty much every major he's entered. Ray Ray got 3rd at EVO and won the last big tournament. He's pretty much a top dog right now. I think personally that it's hard to say, because there is great Magneto experience in California, obviously Filipino champ and stuff like that. But my money is on Ray Ray to take this. Magneto's one of the few matchups that gives Zero a tough time, and if that's not a matchup you grind constantly, whereas I know Ray Ray grinds Magneto versus Zero constantly, I think it's hard to fight.
Okay, gentlemen, do you have any opinions? Of course, this is our Marvel maestro here, but the floor is open.
I mean, I would guess that I know who Cloud is as a non-Marvel player. I know both of these guys pretty well as far as their, not personally, but, that they've been around in the community and that they continually do well. But, Ray Ray was right at the top of EVO, and you see him in any tournament that he goes to, he's always way up there. Cloud's an amazing player. He's someone that's feared. His face was on the wall at UGC, where we used to play in SoCal after Super Close. But I still, every time I see Ray Ray, he's, winning the tournament or, 2nd or 3rd place. So I got to give the edge to Ray.
Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and move on, guys. The rest of you, speak up if you have an opinion. Okay, the next match is Chris G versus Terry Bogard. Now, if you remember, at the last UFN, Terry Bogard was supposed to have a match versus F-Champ. This was an absolute battle last year, and it didn't happen. It looks like a pretty good, a make good on that. If it's not F-Champ, you got Chris G, one of the other gods, right? Predictions.
Most boring matchup, Morgan Mirror. I don't think I've ever seen Chris lose it. He's the odds-on favorite without any question. Mm-hmm. The question is just whether Terry can take it. And he's gotten 2nd at majors. He's been extremely consistent and doing well. So, the question isn't whether I think Chris G's going to win, because I do. It's whether it's the chance that Terry can take it, which I think is relatively high.
He's been grinding. He works hard. He's one of the best players out of Houston, Texas. Gentlemen, any thoughts? Chime in before I get to the next one.
Terry's a very strong player, but like you said, I can't favor anybody in the Morgan Mirror over Chris.
That seems fair. Okay, the next match is SBK versus Coach Steve. Some of these guys I have to ask you, hey, who are they?
So SBK is some brown kid, a player out of Atlanta.
He's a KIT. He's sponsored by KIT, from what I can see here.
Yes. When KIT was getting its openings, he's been wearing their name for a few years now. He's definitely a player. Marvel has a lot of people where if you're not in the Marvel community, you probably haven't heard their name yet, but everyone in the Marvel community knows them. That would be some brown kid. Every single Marvel player who's played the game knows that he's one of the top Wolverines. He's an innovator. A lot of the top Wolverines that you have heard of, like, P.R. Ogg and Justin Hughes mix-ups he created. This matchup is weird. I mean, I doubt these guys have ever played in tournament, possibly. I think SBK has been absent for a little longer than Coach Steve, but I like Wolverine over Nova, so I'm going to pick SBK.
Gentlemen, the clock's ticking. What you got? Nothing. Okay, we're moving on. I'm going to move this because those are all the Marvel exhibition matches. Let's get some MK ones in here. Of course, can't forget Sonic Fox in a 1-10 versus Tom Brady. Now, I don't know if you guys remember what happened the last time Sonic Fox was in a 1-10, but I don't anticipate Tom Brady wants to see a repeat of that. What do you guys think is going to happen here? And, of course, we're going to put it to him here in a little bit when we talk to him.
This is going to be ridiculously popular is all I can tell you.
You think
people,
so?
Oh, yeah. People are going to be watching this just to see if, the 13-0 can repeat itself. I don't think it will. Sonic Fox is clearly the favorite versus any single person he plays in Mortal Kombat X. There is no doubt about that. No one would put anyone favorite over him. So, I mean, yes, I probably think Sonic Fox will win. But at the same time, I don't think it'll be 13-0.
Steve, I'm sure you have something to say about Sonic Fox, right?
Look, for all the fans that I know Tom's got a lot of fans in chat. He's going to be on the show. But none of y'all know where I live, so I'm going with Sonic Fox.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
Lord Brady, dude.
John, you got anything to say about this matchup here?
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as Tom Brady goes, I know he was like an innovator in Mortal Kombat 9 and that he's had a presence in MKX, but his presence hasn't been as big. I don't doubt his abilities, but at the same time, Sonic Fox is like the guy right now. So I'm hoping that Tom Brady can make can prove the naysayers wrong, but I got to give the edge to Sonic Fox. The main question is, if Tom Brady gets 10-0'd, is he going to do the 3 run back? Like,
hey, John.
I think you have to. I think if you go down 10-0, you have to
It's like a new thing versus Sonic Fox.
If you can actually lose 13-0.
Hey, John, I'll ask for you, man. Will he do another 1-3 if he loses at 10-0? Okay.
Yeah.
The last Mortal Kombat match, and this is a 1-7. The Tom Brady versus Sonic Fox is 1-10, of course, as we mentioned. The next one is Yomi Forever King versus Foxy Grandpa. Again, these are like some of the top MKX players, and they're going to be at this
I think
exhibition
MKX
match.
actually has more entrants than Street Fighter 4 at KIT from when I was glancing at the pools, which is pretty crazy. It's in the Midwest, and Tennessee isn't exactly the Midwest, but it's close enough. It's kind of a hub, actually, because due to where Yomi's location is. Mm-hmm. And this will be really interesting to see. Foxy Grandpa is like the British superstar of MKX. Forever King has been a mainstay of every NRS game to come out in the last 10 years or whatever. So I'm not sure yet again if they've played before, but I'm going to have a tough time with that. I probably favor Foxy Grandpa due to his results, mm-hmm. but as for the player versus player matchup, I can't say it's on anything other than results exactly, yeah.
Okay, and last but not least, we have the distinguished honor of revealing the final exhibition match for the UFN fight card, and that is NuckleDu versus K-Brad. Now, that match just happened at the, was it Winterfest, right, Ray? Or was it the KO Fighting Game Festival? Winterfest, yeah. So, hey, look, there you are, right in between them. It's going to be interesting to see. This is why, at the end of the show, Ray's going to break down what happened at Winterfest, and the question will be, what does he have to do different to win in this 1-10? Now, at this point, it's Pride. It's not in the tournament, and it's it's an exhibition match. Thoughts?
This one is storied. I've heard K-Brad stayed in my house and said himself that NuckleDu was his demon. Mm-hmm. Like, NuckleDu completely owned his soul for many, many tournaments in a row. Before finally, I remember K-Brad, I believe, beat NuckleDu in the last big tournament they played in before Winterfest. So, and it was a pretty close match at Winterfest itself. So the tides have turned a little bit. And I think that you might even see better play in an exhibition with them just going all out, having more games to fight each other. I think everyone's going to be super excited for this one. I've had problems with exhibition lineups in the past. Sometimes I felt like they were just put there for the sake of having them. But I really feel like the ones that are going to be at KIT is like the best we've ever seen. Like, I mean,
credit to Panda. The ones at Absolute Battle, a lot of them were hype, but the one that always sticks out to me is Tommy Guns versus Danke. Yes, exactly. That one was pretty exciting. Gentlemen, final thoughts on everything that we have talked about today before we let you go and bring on Tom Brady.
Well, as far as K-Brad and NuckleDu go, given their history, I guess I got to give the edge to NuckleDu, but my heart wants to say K-Brad, it wants to say Cammy over Guile, and I'm not sure that NuckleDu is going to play Guile because he certainly does have a DiCaprio, but I mean, it's really going to be whether or not NuckleDu or K-Brad can just get in and play his game, or whether NuckleDu keeps him out and plays his game. And I think you're gonna get a gist of who's gonna win fairly early on in this set. But it's gonna be exciting either way, and I love to see those guys go. I hope to see Shades. I hope to see Shades by K-Brad in real life, because that would be a little mix up there. I appreciate that.
Ray, how did the match go? Did K-Brad stick with Cammy the entire way through?
Yes, K-Brad did stick with Cammy, and NuckleDu started with Guile, and then after losing 2 matches in a row, he switched to Capri and ran a train.
Well, we're super excited for the exhibition matches. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us as you do every Tuesday, and we'll see you again next week. Remember do your job. All right, guys, we're going to bring on none other than Lord Brady, as he's being called in the chat. Tom, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. What's up, guys?
Hey, Tom, how's it going, man? We got a still image of you, it looks like. You got your cam up?
Where I am right now.
It's probably best not to use it.
I'm out. It's not my house, so I never like to display what someone else.
I hear you. So, I mean, before we get started, you did mention prior to the call or prior to the show that you're training IRL, right? For Kumite in Tennessee specifically, is that right?
That is correct. So myself, Rio, Dragon, Jupiter here over at a local guy, Costner, his house, and we're all training and preparing. So,
okay, let's go ahead and start this interview. I told you the first question we were going to ask you was Tom Brady. Where'd you get the name?
Got the name actually from a friend of mine, Eddie Pistons. I was a quarterback in college, quarterback in high school. And I'm actually a Peyton Manning guy. I'm not even a Tom Brady fan, Unless Tom Brady wants to sponsor me for $500,000 a year, then I'm a huge fan of his. So if that's the case, then yes. But I'm a big Peyton Manning guy, and we had this argument in one tournament over, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. He put me in the bracket as Tom Brady, and I could never shake the name. No matter what I've done, that was my name for eternity, and that's how I got it.
Every time we bring your name up here in the office around people who are not, because it's like an esports newsroom, and you bring up FGC names, like Tom Brady. What do you mean Tom Brady? I'm like, FGC Tom Brady.
I mean, they have heard of me on the Patriots. I think Rob Gronkowski follows me on Twitter. I mean, so they do know who I am. So they're probably Giselle's probably like, who is this idiot that calls himself Tom Brady? But in fairness, until last year, I had won a lot more than he was over the last 10 years. So he's now starting to do his job to keep the name. You know what I mean?
So now he's on the hook to keep the name. He has to earn it.
Yeah. Well, he won last year, but of course I'm pulling for Peyton and the Broncos to win this year. So I mean.
All right. I want to remind everybody that this is a call-in show. If you have any questions that you want Tom to answer, you can write them in the chat like a chump, or you can call in and we'll hear you live. Okay, Tom.
Yeah.
Kumite in Tennessee. You have an exhibition match versus Sonic Fox.
I do.
Are you going to get 10-0'd?
Absolutely not. No chance.
How do you say that? Because Perfect Legend went up against this young man.
Sonic Fox. Well, first of all, here's the thing. One, people need to realize something. Video games are not fair. In other words, video games are not like sports where everyone gets to play all the time. So I was Sonic Fox before Sonic Fox was Sonic Fox. But now I'm 38 and real life happens, so you're not able to train as much as Sonic Fox. So because video games are not fair, there's always going to be your time, now his time. And then it'll be someone else's time when Sonic Fox is in his 30s. It's the way it works. But I still have a little some of that left in me. And I feel good about it because, previous, I heard that the guy brought up how I wasn't as dominant in this game as I was in MK9. But this game's online presence is absolutely unplayable, which makes it very, very difficult to practice the game. Like, you could play this game for a complete year straight online and then play offline for a few weeks and get better than you ever have in a year of playing every day. So, in me being able to practice a lot, especially against guys that play the same characters that Sonic Fox will use on me, it gives me a lot of practice too. The kid is very good. He's a phenomenal player. If I win, I win. If I don't, congratulations to him. But my whole point is just to put up a fight. And if I win, good. If not, shake his hand, stay good games. And I will not do a first 3-1 back. If I lose, I'll say I got outplayed and I'll shake his hand and get off the stage.
You just answered John's question then. I was going to ask if you lose 10-0, will you do another first to 3?
Nah, I will not.
So you're talking about training for Kumite in Tennessee. Obviously, Sonic Fox is on the menu of your opponents. Who are you training for? Who are you concerned about? Who do you think you can beat? Who do you think can beat you?
Well, the thing is, you really have to be ready for everything. We saw Foxy Grandpa come to NEC and lose to Jace in one of the worst matches in the game. Classic situation of ready for every match except for the one you have to be ready for. So try to be ready for everything, regardless of whatever the quote-unquote community says the matchup score is. Just be ready for every kind of situation. And the first of two, it's momentum-based. No matter how bad you dominate a certain matchup or player, you get caught, match is over. Next thing you know, you're thinking about how you lost. So I'm pretty much training for every possible player, every scenario, just try to be as ready as I possibly can. And you never know where you're going to end up in the bracket, who you have to play. So you just kind of have to be as ready as possible. Don't say, well, I hope I get this path or that path, because that's usually a quick path to loser's bracket. So
you're saying that the online isn't good enough to practice, but that you need to be ready for every matchup. Are you getting people at this house to play different characters for you? How are you confident against every character when you can't possibly play them all just without online?
Well, there are some that I've played over my course of the MK life that I've gotten a lot of experience in. Like yesterday I was at a local venue here. Got to play with guys like Coach Steve, CD Jr., so I get a whole bunch of different characters. Rio plays several characters. I have Costa here does, Dragon does. So it gives me a good, amount. It's very difficult to be ready for absolutely everything, especially at this point in the game. The game is less than a year old. So no matter how ready you are to say that nobody's going to pull something out that you've never seen before, or, there's always going to be stuff that you're going to have to adjust to. So the whole point is just to be as ready as I possibly can, as familiar as I possibly am with my character, so that if I do get caught by something, I have to adjust. But just be ready as I possibly can, because there are going to be things that obviously catch me off guard. So,
switching subjects a little, you mentioned something that intrigued me, which is that you called yourself the Sonic Fox before Sonic Fox was Sonic Fox. Where did you get your start? I know there was a DOA involved, obviously MK9. What's brought you to this point in the fighting game community?
What's brought me to this point in the fighting game community is I started playing fighting games in 1991. I think, to my knowledge, I'm actually older than all of them except for Sako. I predate every fighting game player except for Sako in Japan. And to my knowledge, ironically, this is a true statement, besides Sako, I'm the oldest fighting game player to ever win a major.
Dang.
And I did that at 37 at ECT 5 in Injustice. But the thing is, I got my start in 1991 playing fighting games. It's just, I play, football in high school, whatever. There's, and sometimes, I went to the mall one time, and I remember I had an injury. I tore my ACL, and I remember I went to the mall with a friend of mine, and there seemed like there was so many people around this arcade machine. So I was like, well, it was competition. So of course I wanted to play. The concept of the fighting game intrigued me for whatever that reason may be, and fighting games are like professional wrestling sometimes. Like once it gets in your blood, you love them forever. It's kind of like a niche thing. So it just got under my skin, and I've loved them ever since. So that's how I got started.
Go ahead.
You talked about how you played MK9. Did you play MK9 online? Is that why you said MK10's online was unplayable?
MK9's online was absolutely horrendous, and Injustice was a little better, but this game is actually worse than Mortal Kombat 9 online. The thing about Mortal Kombat X, to me, it's one of the best fighting games I've played in a long, long time. It's a phenomenal fighting game, but it is 2016. And the thing about fighting games, for games to really be accessible, everybody has to be able to play. To sit there and say, well, only people that are 16 to 25 can actually play fighting games because they can afford to, they don't have stuff where they have to, real life stuff to take care of at that point yet. I think that really cuts off your audience. Problem is, some people don't live near someone or can't travel around the country every day of the week, and they need to actually be able to sit down and play online. I think online play is huge right now in this era of technology. Street Fighter got a huge boost from online play. GamerB would never exist without online play. So Mortal Kombat X is a game that I feel like is on par. It got 1,200 people at EVO last year, or 1,192, whatever it was. And I think Mortal Kombat, people always say, why do their numbers decline? It's not. It's only because it makes it very hard for people to kind of get into the game, and people that are into the game, it makes it very, very difficult to practice. So casual numbers decrease, tournament numbers decrease, tournament play is not as crisp as it should be. But overall, the game is one of the best fighters out. The only real problem the game has is its net play is literally unplayable. If Mortal Kombat had great net play, I would have no doubt that it would surpass Street Fighter and be the biggest fighting game in the world.
Speaking of Street Fighter, we had the question in the chat several times, and you can just answer yes or no. Will you be playing Street Fighter 5?
I'm not sure. I may try it. I haven't played Street Fighter since the old days of World Warrior, where I got my start in playing fighting games, and I haven't played Street Fighter since basically the Street Fighter 2 days. So I'm not really sure how much. It all depends. It has good netcode, so the good thing is I can always go online if I want to play and practice with just about anybody around the world. So I probably will get into it, give it a try, see if I like it. But I can't see myself competing in it as hardcore as I do like a game like Mortal Kombat.
With MK and with DOA, you were pretty integral in growing the scene. You had the Living Guide with Mortal Kombat. You flew people around and were part of the big, early esports boom with Dead or Alive. Are you pretty much saying that at this point there's nowhere to go but online for these games to expand further?
Well, I think the thing about online is, offline is fine. Don't get me wrong, but we don't live in the arcade era anymore. I mean, online is. There's nothing better or more convenient than someone buying a game and being able to come home from work or whatever they do and play it in the comfort of their own home. I think that's the way the world is. And you go to tournaments and stuff like that. So I just don't know that it's convenient for people to do whatever they're doing in their life and then literally try to drive around town, knocking door to door, looking for someone to play. I just don't think that that's the way the world is anymore. So what I'm basically saying is that I think that the netcode has got to be good. I think Killer Instinct especially proves that you can play someone online and you don't even know. You forget that you're playing them online. I think KI has completely shattered the notion that, online is always going to have its drawbacks. So I think at this point, the way things are, I think online is very, very important. I mean, Dead or Alive was the same, but for the longest time, Dead or Alive's online was absolute garbage. And people had no other way to do but travel around and whatever. And I think DOA has always remained kind of like the fighting game that doesn't grow. You know what I mean? Like it grows, but it doesn't get that launch pad, to grow to where it needs to grow. And a lot of those guys, the DOA players, say the same thing. I mean, DOA, I believe, has finally evolved into a very good game. Those guys at Tecmo Koei, did a great job with Dead or Alive, bringing in the guys to really that know how to play the game, to test the game, to get it to be a very good competitive fighter. But they all say the same thing. The online is so bad, we're not really able to practice. And I'm pretty sure that community would also grow exponentially if, netcode. You can look at a lot of fighting games. Mainstream ones that have great netcode flourish. The ones that don't usually kind of decline at a certain point.
And it's true. Marvel at this point is declining, and that's definitely in part.
You also can't get the game anymore either, though.
Yeah. No, I mean, Marvel dropped off the map. The online sucked, and it hurt the game for sure.
I want to remind people you can call in, ask Tom Brady your questions yourself. Tom, I don't want to keep you too long, and there's two main topics that I want to talk about. One of them is the fact that you stream and put out content. The other topic is these 4 new characters that we finally got gameplay footage of. Which do you want to get to first?
Let's get into Combat Pack 2.
All right. I'm going to start with Leatherface. Go for it.
All right. Leatherface, some people don't seem to be excited for Leatherface. If you're in your 30s, you would absolutely be ecstatic about Leatherface. Leatherface is such an iconic character. To be able to play as him in a video game is absolutely awesome. And I like if they use the classic Leatherface. They didn't use the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake Leatherface. They used literally 1970s Leatherface. So I think that's absolutely awesome. And I'm really curious to see how they use him in his character design. So I'm very excited for Leatherface. I like it. He's using chainsaws. I think I saw in his X-ray he uses like a mallet. So obviously he uses a whole bunch of weapons and props. Kind of like you saw him in the movies. He wasn't all chainsaw. So I definitely think Leatherface is going to be one of the more original characters. And I think he is going to be one of the characters that is more fun to play once he gets released.
He's creepy as hell, man. I'm seeing that when they do the close-up of his face.
Yeah, I mean, guest characters are just cool, man. I mean, people buy the game for that reason. And
I mean, Leatherface is iconic. I mean, he is an iconic character. Like, he's ingrained in, horror history. No one will ever talk about horror movies, greatest horror movies of all time that inspired so many other movies without bringing up someone like Leatherface. So.
Now, I know in the past you've been a tester on NetherRealm games. I don't anticipate you've played these characters yet by any chance, right?
No, I have not. They brought me in during the, beta testing part of the game, but the DLC characters and that kind of stuff, no, I haven't played at all.
Okay, so then I guess nobody but the devs have played it, so I want to ask you how you think they play, obviously. But let's move on to Triborg. A lot of people are excited about Triborg. John said Event Hub's commenters were saying Triborg is where it's at.
I think Mortal Kombat X's system was custom made for something like this, where you have 3 characters that are fan favorites, Smoke, Cyrex, Sector, and you can say, you know what? We can just literally put all 3 of them in and make them a solo. And I think that's really good. And the reason why I love the Triborg idea is so many people, they have their favorite character, but their favorite character has 3 variations, especially if you're a casual player and you say, well, I don't know which variation to play. I don't know which one I'm the best at. And they go through so much time in practice mode, not even playing, kind of seeing like which variation do I even want to play before they start playing the game with their friends or whatever. This way, it's like, hey, I like Cyrex, I'm going to play Cyrex. I like Sector, I'm going to play Sector. I like Smoke, I'm going to play Smoke. So not only is the idea original by having all 3 characters and only taking up 1 character slot, it's also very good for a lot of the player base who can play their favorite character without having to concern themselves with learning 3 variations. Sometimes that can be overwhelming for players, so I think it's really good.
I mean, that's almost an indictment of this new variation system that they implemented, saying that, can we go back? You kind of ruined the game almost. Or, I mean, I don't think you're taking it that far, but it almost sounds like you wish there was more, solid one version characters.
No, I love the variation system. I think it works out very, very good because the variation system does 2 things, which is really, really good. Like a lot of times, what can happen is you can be playing a fighting game, and you say, "Oh, my character has a bad matchup," and I hate to pick a different character. This is my favorite character. Why do I have to learn a brand new character? But a variation system gives you an extra option. Like, wow, I'm playing my favorite character still, but I'm playing a different style that gives me a better chance to win. So that's a great part of the variation system, and we saw that actually worked at the very, very first ESL in Fatal 8, where one guy was playing one variation, was down 2 or 3 games, switched to a different variation, came back 5 straight games and won. So it showed the variation system working at its best. But then you also have some people that say, well, the variation system is nice, but I'm more of a casual player. That's not always my cup of tea, so to speak. I want to play my favorite character, but because there are people, different types, different strokes for different people. I think this is very, very good because it allows you to play your favorite character. And in reality, it's probably more of a downside that there's only 1 variation to the character, I guess, as opposed to 3 for each. But at the same time, it also allows some of the more casual players to play their favorite character and not have to say, well, what variation do I want to play? Do I want to play this one, this one, this one, this one? So I think it's the best of both worlds. You get Mortal Kombat X that have the variation system, and it works very, very well with all those characters. And it also works very, very well with this. So basically, the variation system works well either way you do it. So whether you're one kind of player, you can do this. If you're another kind of player, you can do that. So I think it works very well.
Which character do you feel like embodies the variation system the best and you think has the most balanced ones that show off, different parts of the character?
Uses the variation system the best. Well, there are a few characters we've seen multiple variations of. We got Kotal Khan. We see one guy, Madsen, uses Blood God a lot, and then we see other guys like Alucard. He uses War God a lot, and Mr. Aquaman, whatever. Then you see other characters, like Jax. We see Jupiter having a lot of success with Wrestler, and we see Tyrant with heavy weapons. So I'd say all around complete 3 variations. It's really, really hard to say because the game is so early on. There's so many variations. I was just at NEC and I asked somebody, I said, hey, who beat you? And he said, some Devora player who used Broodmother. And they're like, well, this variation I thought was not very good. And then this guy picks it and beats me, 2-0. So there are some variations right now that, are considered not very good that later on in the game will be considered great. So it's very, very hard to pick a character to say, well, this character is the most complete variation-wise, because a lot of them are still in discovery.
So, Tom, let's keep going through these characters here. We have Boraicho and Alien left. Let's go into Boraicho.
Boraicho is my favorite character by far.
Of this new set or of all time?
Boraicho is my real Mortal Kombat character, is Boraicho. Every time I go to another realm of test, I lobby constantly for Boraicho. Like I beg, Paulo, come on, man, you got to put him in. And Paulo wants him in, but some people are like, no, we don't want a character, peeing all over the place or throwing up or whatever. That's the best part about him, I think. He's my favorite character. So to have Boraicho back, I am the absolute most excited for. People have always said I would never leave Sub-Zero. The only character I would leave Sub-Zero for is Boraicho. So I'm extremely excited for him. I really like how they kept the concept of Boraicho, where he's supposed to be this guy. He's he's drunk. He's a little overweight, but he's faster than most of the characters. He jumps really high. He seems extremely athletic for this character who's supposed to be really, really heavy set and whatever. And I'm really hoping that they put a classic skin where he's very, very fat. So
Side note, correct me if I'm wrong, but is this a new stage that they're showing here in this clip? It looks like the pit at night, and I don't remember that being in Mortal Kombat X.
Yeah, they added 2 stages, the pit day, the pit night. Very curious to see what kind of interactables they have on the stages. Also, as a Sub-Zero player, I'm hoping that none of the corners allow you to jump out. And I'm curious to see, the brutality. I'm sure the pit is probably not a fatal. It's more likely a brutality, which I think is one of the way they implemented the brutalities is one of the best things I've ever seen in a fighting game. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the pit fatal itself is going to be like. So
yeah, that will be cool.
I'm very excited. They have pit day, pit night. So it's 2 of them. So it's the same stage, but, pit day, pit night. So.
It's interesting that you brought up stages. It's one thing that I feel like doesn't get that much talk. When Injustice came out, interactables were a big deal. They were unblockable, this, and that. It's typically been come down to, random selecting the stage. How do you feel that, is stage counterpicking underdeveloped? What's the deal with stages in Mortal Kombat X?
Well, I don't feel like it's underdeveloped. Myself, as someone who heavily relies on corner pressure, the thing I like is not every stage is the same. First of all, not every stage size is the same, which is fine. I would say, it's not uncommon to see that in a fighting game. But, I like how some stages have interactables you can throw, some you can jump. And the thing is, not all the interactables you can throw are the same. Some are advantage on block, some are on safe, some are just neutral. As far as jumping out of the corners, I think a lot of people look at the corners and they don't realize, they say, oh, this is a stage where a guy can jump out of this corner. But not all the jumps are the same. So one particular jump would allow the opponent to jump a little farther. Some you can do grounded, some you have to do airborne. So there's really a lot of depth in how the stages are. So you really have to have a lot of knowledge of that. I really feel like it adds another layer of depth to the gameplay where not just because one stage has a corner escape does not mean it is as equal to this stage that has a corner escape. You see what I'm saying? Because they're not all equal. So you really have to have in-depth knowledge on, okay, well, if he uses this on this stage, how am I going to punish him for it? But if I try to punish him for it on this stage, it's not going to be the same. I have to do this. So I really like how they implemented it. And not every stage has an escape as well. So, and some stages also have things you can do in the middle of the stage, and it even catches me off guard to this day. Sometimes I'm not really aware of the fact that my opponent, I'm using an interactable in the middle of the stage, and sometimes I'll be playing like Rio or someone, and he'll jump off an interactable in the middle of the stage, get around what I'm doing, hit me on the other side. So it's still, to this day, I kind of think really using the stages to your full ability is still underdeveloped at this point.
All right, Tom, let's get to the last new character, and that is the xenomorph alien that is busted out of a Tarkatan, so he's like a Baraka alien.
First, I want to say I absolutely love the tease they did in the trailer where they have Baraka. And even my first thought was, I can't believe they put in Baraka out of all the characters. And I like the xenomorph alien. I'm not sure if they showed all the variations. I'm curious to see, maybe they'll do another surprise, like a variation where it's just Baraka with, maybe like the alien busting out of his chest, like not fully out yet or something. I don't know, something like original like that. Maybe I could see something like that happening as well. But I like how so far all the guest characters have been very true to form. Jason Voorhees walks and moves and does stuff like Jason Voorhees does. Leatherface is crazy with the chainsaw like Leatherface is. Predator is very Predator-like. So I'm pretty sure I like how they have the face huggers in the game. I like how they do them kind of like traps where the face hugger jumps on you and then he gets a free combo or something like that. I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with that tail of Alien.
What would you think? What can you do with it? I mean, other than use it to hit somebody with it, do you think there's any kind of specific functionality?
It looks terrible for someone that uses an ice clone because that tail's probably going to go right through it. So that doesn't look good for me.
Oh, I see.
Be that as it may, I like the design of Alien. I do like how Alien looks tremendously aggressive. And the thing I liked about the Alien trailer is you have Predator, who you have, Warrior, which is more of the hand-to-hand variation like we saw in the movies. Then you have, Hunter, which is that Trapper, which you also see in the movies. And then we see, I got Nick Nicastro telling me it goes to the clone. Of course it does, Nick. Thank you. And then you have, his zoning variation, which we also saw. And then we see Alien, who seems extremely aggressive, like very fast-moving, able to get in, apply tremendous pressure, tremendous offense, which is very much like how aliens are. They're very aggressive, very go, very in your face. So I really like how the contrast of styles, how Predator is one way and the Alien is another way. And I can't wait to hopefully commentate an Alien vs. Predator Grand Finals. I think the world will absolutely explode to get something like it. We didn't get Freddy versus Jason in MK9, but now we have Alien versus Predator in MKX, and I'm really excited for it.
All right, man. I'm going to close you out on this last topic here, and that is, I was going through some of your media offerings, some of the content you put out there. Not only do you have a stream with Rio that is popular, but you also put a lot of content on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And a ton of tech, a ton of, hey, I want to figure this out. Let's figure it out during this quick clip. Some Sub-Zero stuff that I'll play right now. My question to you is, oops, let me kill the audio on it.
Okay.
The question is this: do you prefer to build tech for the community or for yourself to win a tournament?
Well, it always starts, obviously, you're looking for something yourself. Yeah, it's just human nature. You have a problem, and you're like, well, how do I solve it?
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, you also know, hey, there are a lot of people out there who probably have a similar problem, and multiple heads are always better than one. It's impossible, even arrogant, to think that you're going to think of 100% of everything. So many times you put something out there and say, hey, guys, this is what I'm doing. This is the best stuff. And somebody will mention a simple, hey, I tried this, and it's something you never thought of, and it's remarkably effective and even adds on to yourself. I think knowledge makes things easier. Rather than somebody else having to go through the same process you just went through and find this out, you can present, hey, I've already been through this process, and here's what I got, so people can start from that point and build off of it. Rather than saying, people always say, keep your tech to yourself. Well, I guess that does help at a certain point. But eventually, people are going to know what you do. They're going to see it, they're going to study it, and then that's gone, and then can you still win? I think the best way is to really help yourself, and helping the community does help yourself. You put the tech out there, which helps them, but you're really helping them also help you, and then multiple heads get to, think as one. So I prefer to put, obviously I look for myself as a tournament player, but I also do it for the community to really educate those guys who are also playing the same character, or maybe think, hey, something is unwinnable or a real problem, because those guys that go to tournaments are spending money too, so obviously it helps. And in turn, not only are you helping people and helping the game grow, somebody might say, wow, I was going to quit this game because of this, and I never thought about this. Wow, thank you so much. Now I'm really enjoying the game. It's more people still playing. But at the same time, there's always people that say, hey, I was doing this, and I found this, and it helps you expand on your game because you get a different point of view. So I think it's very, very rewarding for both you and the community. So I kind of do it for both.
Tom, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. We've had your Twitter handle up on every time you speak. It's at @MK_Tom Brady. Great pickup by Ultra Arcade. How long have you been with Ultra Arcade?
I've been with Ultra Arcade since CEO, and those guys are a standout bunch. They're a lot more than just a business-based sponsor for me. Those guys are like actual friends, and there are so many times in this game where I was at an impasse, so to speak, and Brandon has always really been there to talk to me and keep me positive and keep me focused, and I would not be here without Ultra Arcade. So those guys are the best.
Shout out to Ultra Arcade and shout out to you, Tom. We really appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll see you this weekend at Kumite in Tennessee.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, good night, man. What do you think? It's always my favorite question after interview. What do you think, Doc?
Yeah, I think it's cool that he loves the game so much, seemingly. It's interesting because, you think of fighting games, you think, some people look at a new fighting game, they look at the characters coming out, they wonder how they're going to play. But with Mortal Kombat, oftentimes it's like, wow, Alien and Predator are in Mortal Kombat. And that doesn't really happen with our fighting games as much. You kind of saw it with Tekken. It had Kuma as a guest character. Mm-hmm. But Mortal Kombat's bringing in movies, which is just a totally different subset of people in general. People that haven't even played video games before will probably try the game or think it looks cool just because, Alien and Predator in it. So it's a good model. And I think they've done an amazing job getting the characters in the game. And to see that the players appreciate that is nice.
That's a bonus, I guess, of Warner Brothers having bought that studio because, they did gangbusters on Injustice. Regardless of whether you like fighting games or not, you were going to buy that game because it has Superman and Batman in it.
Right.
Same thing here. I think it's somewhat of that similar idea. Let's put in some
And
properties.
I think they'll keep a large market for that reason. MK10, as he said, has lost a little steam in large part because of the online play being so poor. But MKX, when it came out, was getting the premier spot even over Street Fighter 4 oftentimes. Injustice was extremely popular when it came out, and I know Injustice 2 has been announced. So, if they can improve the online play, who's to say that he's not right and that, NetherRealms will reach an even bigger audience for longer.
Okay, that's enough NetherRealms talk. Let's get back to some Capcom fighters. We have Ray here to break down the Weatherman. What does K-Brad need to do to beat NuckleDu at this tournament coming up. Okay, Ray, you ready to take it away?
Sure am. All right, start off. I'm going to just recap some of the last tournaments between the history of NuckleDu and K-Brad, which is that NuckleDu has beaten K-Brad 4-0 now at these major tournaments, which I like to recall. Absolute Battle 6, EGL 10K, and Summer Jam 8. And all of these matches, fair enough, were 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, and then here we saw that he got reset from a 2-3 to a 3-0. And we'll just talk about the first match a little bit, about how K-Brad gets away with a little bit in this one, where he's implementing a lot of focus attacks because Guile, Sonic Boom, Crouching Medium Kick, he can't really do much off of that.
So you ready for that first clip?
Yeah, let's go right into it.
This is your first clip.
All right, so here we see K-Brad actually picking up the tempo and starting an offense, which is really how you're going to beat Guile in this matchup. And, you know, K-Brad doing his heavy links and things like that with Cammy, it's just a lot of damage, a lot of stuff that Guile can't get away with, you know. He needs to charge his reverse kicks, he needs to charge his Sonic Booms, and he doesn't have the best footsies for dealing with super up-close pressure. Now, K-Brad, in this matchup, I watched it a couple of times. Whenever he gets his offense going and he's crossing up with his dive kicks and whatnot, NuckleDu has quite a bit of a problem. You know, K-Brad can mix it up in with a few focus attacks, walk back a little bit, wait, walk up and grab, but NuckleDu is always pressing buttons, no matter what. Like, he's not afraid to flash kick, he's not afraid to mash jab on, you know, block, on wake up, and it just really causes a huge problem. And we'll see in the next clip how NuckleDu kind of sees that he's focus attacking a lot and he finds a way to go around it.
Yeah, what you notice there in that clip is, as Ray said, the focus attack is hard for Guile to get through. His only cancelable normals are his shorter punch normals, which he can cancel into, you know, flash kick on a read or EX Sonic Boom to be focused. But even regular Sonic Boom, like down medium into regular Sonic Boom, will often get interrupted by a focus attack. Any of his kicks can't be canceled, lose the focus attack. Sonic Boom, lose the focus attack. So he puts him in a situation where if he ends up blocking the focus attack, K-Brad's plus, and if he throws at any move, he gets hit. So you see right there, he puts him right in the range where none of Guile's down medium punches will hit. It's at the end of the clip, not right now.
Right.
And he does it down short instead and gets counter hit. So yeah, it was a very effective strategy.
You ready for your next clip?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Next
into
one,
the next clip.
NuckleDu, seeing this, comes up with a really interesting tech option where he Sonic Booms, forward dashes, back dashes, and an attack whiffs, and then he punishes it.
Here, you're going to have to step to the right so we can see it here.
Yeah, sorry about
that,
guys.
So tell me more about this. He's going to backdash, forward dash, focus cancel, what?
It's interesting because the backdash gives him, he does it at the right time where he has just enough invincibility to punish right after. And it's like the most amazing thing I can think of right now because I haven't seen that in a while.
It's extremely interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing adaptation. A lot of Guile players complained because they added counter hit timing to his Sonic Boom. So whereas before you might have thrown a Sonic Boom and get focus attack through, you'd get hit, but if it was level 1, you know, it would just be like they dash in, they're about even, not a huge deal. But since they added that, you know, that counter attack, that counter hit would have possibly killed him, you know, brought him to the corner, put him in a death situation. But that he focus cancels forward on the Sonic Boom to lower the recovery time and then backdashes to dodge the attack itself. I've truly never seen anything like that from a Guile player.
And he planned that, or he was like, you know what, it might be a good idea to do that right now?
I mean, you can't
that seems
react.
so wonky to me.
He threw the Sonic Boom. He may have reacted to the startup, but I'm guessing it was more of a read, based on, as Ray said, the focus attacks were coming. I mean, they'd been going on all set.
I mean, watching this matchup, we'll see in the next clip how K-Brad does have a lot of problems, and I'm not really sure what he can do to get around it. But I like to point out that K-Brad, and we'll see this in the next clip as well, gets these combos going, gets the damage going, but then just ultimately drops something, and he gets punished heavily for it. You know, this is a classic example of K-Brad on block, and there's just so much blocking you can do before you get blown up. And, you know, DiCaprio with the EX movement, where she flies up into the air, lands on the ground. Most people on reaction don't grab to that. They like to mash jab. But K-Brad actually goes for the grab and gets beat out by mashing jab. And it's really interesting to see how, you know, NuckleDu is mixing it up, keeping the pressure on, and just, you know, rushing down a character that is supposed to have good rush down.
Yeah, I mean, you see here that he's abusing DiCaprio's hands on block, which were previously safe, are now unsafe. But seemingly, Cammy doesn't really have an option to punish the light punch hands from DiCaprio. So, I mean, the character switch has apparently been just too much for him to handle this past set. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he has a plan for that. He probably won't switch characters himself. I think at this point he's full-time Cammy main.
But does K-Brad have any that we can recall, any secondary characters?
He played DiCaprio when the game came out himself, but he really only plays Cammy.
I wouldn't put my DiCaprio up against NuckleDu's DiCaprio.
No, he's not going to.
We have one more clip. At this point, has he already reset the bracket here? Or,
yes, this one's already reset, and it's 1-2 now.
Okay. When you switch to... So did he stick with Guile through the entire first...
So... Interestingly enough, NuckleDu started with Guile and lost the first 2 games, switched to DiCaprio and wins 3 in a row, resets the bracket and sticks with DiCaprio and wins again. So I don't really understand, what can K-Brad kind of do, because we see in this next clip, he's just, over the course of time, he's just whittling down. He's making more and more mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
NuckleDu is just opening him up. He's getting in on all of these reads, and you'll see a clear example of that in the next clip. We just show it real quick.
Here's the next clip.
So you see there, backdashes. He walks back for half a second and then backdashes to make extra sure that, the EXTP is coming and he's going to whiff. And we'll see a nice little ultra combo setup here where, it's definitely going to chip out. But K-Brad does something kind of nifty to kind of get out of the way, but it's just, NuckleDu is sitting there patiently. He knows it's coming. There's not much else he can do.
So, Ray, summarize it for us. What does K-Brad need to do to beat NuckleDu?
First, he needs to ban DiCaprio. Second,
barring that.
When he's playing, he does need to understand that NuckleDu is going to mash sometimes, and he's going to EX flash kick a lot. And when he's playing DiCaprio, he's just going to go in. But you have to challenge. I think a lot of it is controlling the air. You see here, NuckleDu is just getting away. The other times that he has beat NuckleDu's DiCaprio is when he challenges and predicts where his movements are going to be. You see DiCaprio teleporting back and forth. When she flies, K-Brad actually in one match followed him and predicted where he would land and punished it with sweeps and combos right on the spot. But he doesn't really do that here because I feel like he's still flustered or trying to figure out what's going on. How do I get this guy to sit still? And it might not work because we've seen Daigo try the jump back jabs to counter Yoon's dive kicks and control the air. But if you can't control the ground and the air, there's really not much you can do against a character that's so mobile but also so stationary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as Ray said, the major thing there is being able to properly chase him down. One thing you saw was that after getting DP'd, after NuckleDu baited the DP, he kind of stopped DPing a little bit, allowing NuckleDu to walk him to the corner. When he himself walked NuckleDu to the corner, NuckleDu just teleported out. He needs to be able to stop and wait and then counter hit the scramble, which is the charge teleport move. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how Infiltration won a lot early on, is by doing that. And you saw a lot of the players from Asia start sitting there and waiting and counter hitting the teleports themselves, timing it so that it doesn't whiff through the EX invincible fall down, whether or not it beats the stomp or not. Beating DiCaprio is all about understanding how Scramble works, and hopefully for this exhibition, he'll focus on that, because it seems like he's got the Guile matchup down pretty pat, winning that, and we'll see if he studies enough, yeah.
Guys, we're about ready to wrap up the show, but it just so happens that we have one more call. Let's get it going. This is Mystery Caller. Mystery Caller, can you please identify yourself and ask your question?
Hi, my name is Chuvilicious from the DFW, Dallas Fort Worth Fighting Game Community.
Hey, Chuvi, how you doing, man?
Very, very, very good. How about you guys?
Doing all right, man. This is Chewy from the third best FGC in Texas. You have a question, Chewy? What's going on, man?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. I just tuned in. Amazing show, first of all. I want to also congratulate Danke on his fabulous cow fashion shirt. But my main question is, Danke, what is your game plan when you lose all your Street Fighter V money matches to the DFW FGC?
Danke, you have the floor.
Well, at that point, I'll have to win it back from winning the tournaments there.
Yeah, there you go, Chuvi. How about that?
Well, I mean, I just want to let you know that all that confidence better be brought because DFW, once again, will outshine you and put you in your place. And I would also like a shout-out at Daily Dot whenever you lose to us.
Gladly. I'll shout you out right now. Chuvy's from the DFW obviously said players such as Integra, Chuvy himself, and Joe Love, various other players have come out of there and done well in tournaments. Solid FGC. Hosts Absolute Battle in Dallas.
Now, when did you change your name to Don K?
Don K.
Chuvy?
Well, honestly, I've never known that name. I always knew it as Dookie, but I wanted to be a little more professional.
For anybody outside of Texas, DFW is Dallas-Fort Worth. Chuvy, thank you very much. Are you going to be at Kumite in Tennessee?
Unfortunately, I'm not. I have stuff to take care of, and I have to ask my kids for permission. As you guys know, they're not too fond of me leaving the house, so we'll see how that goes.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much for calling in. And, guys, that does it for us. I want to thank, again, Tom Brady for being on the show. Of course, our panelists that are joining us via Skype were Steve, AceKingOffSuit Jurek, and John Velociraptor Guerrero. And, of course, as always, here in the studio is the weatherman, Ray, standing very stoically there. Peace. And, of course, as always, co-host Michael Danke.
Don't forget that we'll be at KIT, obviously. You mentioned it earlier, but we'll be doing a pregame and halftime show for Panda Stream. We did it AB. I think it went pretty well. It'll only be better this time. Hopefully we'll be able to get some guests who are still in the top 8 of the tournament while we're doing it, interview them, go over replays, talk about keys to winning in the future. Hope you'll check it out and watch KIT this weekend in Memphis.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for watching Best of 3.